Welcome back to yet another P3D video, guys and gals. Today we are going to be looking at the newly released Tango Bravo Papa Bravo, and I am absolutely stoked because if I haven't said it a million times, I'll say it a million and one times. Barbados is my home country and I am so happy that it is getting representation in the sim. Now, before we dive into it, just to give you a little bit of clarity around the excitement that I actually have for this. The Caribbean is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places that you can actually go on Earth. For holidays, you've got the golden sand and nice beaches, clear crystal water, warm, and it's mostly vacation spots for millions and millions of tourists every year. Now, my cousin and I, we've been simming for quite a while, and one of our biggest issues with the sim community is that the Caribbean was not getting as much love as we would like it. You see that all the big developers are developing in some cases three different versions of the same airport. You've got FS Dream Team, who has Chicago after DD Designs have Chicago as well. You've got Latin VFR, who have Madrid, as well as Aerosoft, and only a handful of developers actually paid attention to the Caribbean and give us really quality airports. I think even though that they're not active anymore because of real life, Taxi to Gate hands down have some of the best scenery, which is, even though have been developed since around 2012 for previous versions, 2013 or around there. I might have my dates out by a year or two, but he hasn't designed for the sim community for a few years. I believe he had a child, and obviously family takes priority over the sim community, unfortunately, for us. But not that I'm saying that he should give up his fatherly responsibilities or anything like that, but it's a shame because even though his scenery is so old, it can still be used in P3D V4.5 today. Just a couple of manual edits you have to do, and the quality is there. So he had sceneries like TFFR. What else does he have in the Caribbean? He has St. Lucia, TFFR, I think that's Martinique. Rosette. He has St. Lucia, and I believe that is Tango Lima Papa Charlie. Outside of him, you've got Latin VFR, who did San Juan, and then you had Tropical Sim, who also did some airports around the Caribbean. Tropical Sim, in my opinion, the quality isn't as high as Taxi to Gate, but now more recently we've had Richard Simulations, who've done his own rendition of Barbados. So you'll see in a bit, because I'm using some of his scenery, not for the airport, but for the surrounding areas, and you'll be able to identify exactly where the scenery by Imaginesim, which we are going to go through today, starts and ends, and where his picks up. Now, he did a version a couple of months ago, and it is decent, but I had some issues with the pricing and the quality that I was actually seeing. Nothing against him or his scenery, it's just my own personal preference. The price was in line with Flight Beam prices, which is one of the top developers for P3D to date. But when I was looking at some of the pictures, they actually looked like they were more 2D rather than 3D, and for that reason I did decide to wait and see what Imaginesim had to offer. Now, one thing he did get right, I can't speak too much about it, but in my opinion, one thing that he nailed spot on was that in real life, when you look at these gates that are directly in front of us, like gate 7, gate 8, gate 10, these are usually filled with LEAT, the regional airline aircraft. It used to be dash 8s, but now they have ATRs, and you'll find that on one single taxi line you will have, like, not taxi line, parking line, you will have 2 and sometimes 3 different ATRs behind one another. I'm not 100% sure if you can do that in this scenery, but what I have realized is that maybe the AFCAD file isn't where it should be, because you'll see when I go up to the aircraft that I'm going to be using today, which is a 172, and please forgive me, my controls are very sensitive with A2A, and I just pushed the button by mistake, so I just go back to the tower view. But I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna fly low and slow so you can see how the scenery is, and then if time permitting I'll change from daytime to nighttime as well, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now Richard's simulation did his version of it, and now Imaginesim has released their version of it yesterday. There's also a very good quality freeware on Avsim that you can also use for Barbados, and it is great during the day, but at the night the colors are very off because it's not fully compatible. Anyways, enough about those other developers and the other sceneries. Let's get into this one from Imaginesim, and we'll go down to the aircraft. So as you can see, the scenery is very detailed. You've got a lot of vehicles, and the vehicles actually lifelike, unlike the freeware one where you have, it looks more like cardboard shapes. Now you have loads of options in terms of what you want to have at this airport, and you can choose these options from the Imaginesim Operations Center. At the moment I don't have everything on. Before I started the video I had animations, so you will see the trucks and the buses driving up and down the airport. Other options you have would be vehicles in the car parks, which I have turned off. You've got the street lights here, as you can see. You've got edge lights for the runways. You'll see that once we taxi down as well. You can have ships in the sea. There's dynamic lighting here, of course. You have the option to have the halo effect from on the street lights. There's the option to have birds. I've taken this off because if you're flying at midnight you're still going to be seeing the birds, and it's not realistic to me. You can have the option of GA traffic. Just one thing on the animations, for you to have the animations working you need to download an add-on. It's free, and it is called, what's the name? It's Live Scenery Module from SimWorks Studios, and I'll put the link in the comments below just in case you want to get it. It is free, it's compatible with P3D V4, and it gives you not only animations but it gives you airport sounds as well. I find the sounds annoying because if you're in the aircraft you're still hearing the noises as if you're actually outside, and it could be a little bit distracting. I've got that turned off for the video, otherwise you'd be struggling to hear me right now. So looking at the airport right now, this makes me feel like I'm actually at home. The attention to detail in the terminal is spot on. I took a look in the back where you've got the car park, you've got the roundabout just as back home, so I have no argument there. Now, first thing that I've mentioned to you is where my plane spawns in. The plane spawns in a lot lower than where it should be. It should be at the front, but that's probably just something to do with the AFCAD file, and that's easily fixed if you know how to do it. I don't, so I'm going to leave it like that, and I just reposition the plane where I want it to be when I are doing actual flights. The next thing is the look of the tarmac. I am on the fence on this because it isn't how Barbados looks. This gives a marbled look to the ground. Barbados has a concrete look here, and this look actually extends over the runway. So when I took off earlier and I look back at the runway, I was seeing all these marble squares. Now this could be a personal touch by Imaginesim, because all of the airports seem to have this kind of look, and it might be their way of implementing the PBR, the rain and stuff like that, rain puddles and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure, but this whole tarmac, the apron, the maneuvering area, this does not look like this in real life. It has a more concrete grayish look than a polished marble look that we have here. This is two of the things that I've come across so far that I can fault, but like I said, I'm on the fence because when I look at it at night, it actually looks very stunning. It's not lifelike, but it's still very pleasant to see. The airport has a little bit of scenery behind the front, the back, and or in each cardinal position, north, east, southwest. Let's make it easy like that. They have on the opposite side of the runway, you've got the light airplane club. You've got the area where what we call the south ramp, where they have a hangar. And when I'm looking on my FsLabs, I actually can see a little ways down the taxiway Alpha, there's a turnoff where there's a owner of private jets. He's called Simpson. He has his own private jets, and that is actually modeled in this as well. So far everything seems spot on except for the couple of things that I've just mentioned. Performance wise, the operating system, the op center that allows you to put or take off things that you might or might not want, and obviously the more that you put on, the harder it's going to be on your performance. So if you have a system that is not very strong, you might want to keep most of the eye candy off. There's an option for passengers in the terminal. I haven't gone into the terminal to look. It's not something that I usually do, but I've kept this on minimum. You have the option to have it on either minimum or maximum. There's also an option for safe gate docking. I turned it on because I thought that it would be cool to have some kind of marshalling system, but what it does is it actually puts kind of like a traffic light at the top of each gate. And what I saw is that it never tells, it says stop all the time, and then there's an arrow leading up to it, but the arrow never stops. I passed the area to stop, and it was still saying, the arrow was still saying keep coming, basically. Now again, this is something that's very small. I won't ever put it back on while I'm using the sim, because it adds something to the sim that isn't there. You will notice Barbados doesn't have jetways in this rendition of scenery by Imaginesim. That is true to real life. Barbados do not have jetways, so you wouldn't see it in this scenery. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to start up the aircraft. We're going to taxi all the way down, and we'll take a look around as we go. We'll take off, and we are going to fly. We're going to do a left hand circuit, so we'll fly over the land and then we'll come back into land. Now, like I said, I'm not going to be that great on this plane. This is a review on the airport, has nothing to do with my landing or handling skills of this particular aircraft, and in fact I'm not even going to be paying that much attention. I just want to keep the plane up in the air so we can see the view. I'll point it to you where the scenery ends and where Richard's simulation of the rest of the island actually starts. So let's get into the aircraft and start up. We're not on VATSIM, so we can take our time and go around. So now this airport would have been current up till a few months ago. When last I heard, they were doing some work at the airport, and I'm not sure if the layout has changed. But basically, for one, I know the runway threshold was displaced because they were doing some work. I'm not sure if it was repairs or if they were doing anything extra. But let's slow down a bit. I am actually very happy with this rendition of the sim. I saved my rating for the end because there's some things that I haven't seen that I'm going to see the same time with you guys as well. Tower is in the right position. One thing that I've noticed with these stands here, like 7 and 6, or these parking placements, in real life you wouldn't see 737s and 757s on them unless the airport was completely full to capacity, and I don't remember ever seeing markings for the actual aircraft on these. But in this one I've seen markings for 757 at gate 7, 737 and stuff like that. I believe they're only a stop position, but like I said, things could have changed between when last I was in Barbados. I haven't been there since 2014, I believe. So down here is where you get the fuelers, and this is the where they handle the cargo. I'm not sure what the official name is, but basically you do your clearance and stuff from here too. Now anyone of my Barbados peeps, they can correct me because I could be a little bit off on this one. And all of these vehicles look lifelike. Now I was expecting for something that have so much in it, something that looks so good, that it would actually be a big FPS hit on my system, even though that I don't have everything on. Right now I am doing 60 easy, and I think, I don't have it locked, it's unlimited. But even with this level of detail, with these kinds of clouds and the airport itself, 60 is quite good, I think. I think down here is where Virgin offices are. And also where you might have the private jet hangars. That again, I'm not 100% sure, as like I said, things have changed since I've left. Now there are two exits here. You've got exit 1 here, where you'll find the turboprops will normally vacate the taxiway to enter the runway to take off, and then you'll find the jets will normally come all the way down to exit 2. The aircraft was sounding a little bit funny when I was adding power a couple times, so what I'm gonna do is just do a run up here before going into the runway. And it's just me, so I don't have to worry about holding up anyone. I will do this quite quick for the purpose of saving time for the video. Yeah, it is a fall magnetic. This I hope I can actually do. Let's see here, shift 2. Not that one. There's a button over here where you can do maintenance. I don't know if I can do it while the plane is on. Okay, I'm gonna shut down quickly so I can do some maintenance on the aircraft. Yep. Alright. Perfect. That's sorted. One of the things with one of the things with A28 is that it has on, once damage is on, it has health basically, and depending on how you, let's see how it is. Yeah, that's better. depending on the condition that you leave the aircraft, that when you pick it back up, whether it be days or weeks, it deteriorates. Anyways, we've got that started, so let's take off and have a look. So this is the square looks that I've been telling you about. You can see it on the runway. This is the part that I don't like. I don't mind it so much on the taxiway, but the runway looks a little bit too blocky. See all those blocks there? That is not a true representation of the runway in Barbados. And again, like I said, it might be their way of actually being able to implement the weather, like rain and puddles and stuff like that, and PBR. But in reality, the runway in Barbados is asphalt. There are no squares like concrete runway. It's complete asphalt. Now if you look at the grass on the side, this is going to tell you exactly where the scenery belongs to Imaginesim, because it is of a slightly different color to what Richard Simulation has done. It isn't a direct blend, but it's not too bad when they meet. So let's take off and have a look around the island. Got 60 knots. Now, like I said, my controls are going to be very sensitive, so please bear with me. So here's the Light Airplane Club, which is the red building. Then you would have got the fire station, which is the third building. The two hangars inside is actually controlled by it used to be controlled by a company called Executive Air. As you can see with the behind the airport, the car park that I was telling you about. So where you see the green lush grass that I just pointed out to you, where you see these ends and there's a different color, this is where Richard Simulation starts. So the airport has, it's not too bad a coverage, but there isn't that much that it has on the island once you've left the airport. I'll pause it here. So if you look where the waves are, all of this belongs to Imaginesim. Coming around the fence, everything that is within the fence belongs to Imaginesim as well, but everything beyond belongs to Richard Simulation. So behind the airport, you're gonna see there's a roundabout just to come into the actual airport, and then there's a roundabout a little bit further down. This is the Christchurch area, and this is exactly how it is in real life. Right next to the airport, you've got that big kind of hangar looking building there. This is where the Concorde is housed. So again, another great representation. And it's not bad. The trees look lifelike. Some of them. They don't look as I don't want to say fake, because that's a little bit harsh, but they don't look as unreal as others have done, portrayed them to be. Flaps up. So rather than going all the way around the island, I am just going to come close into where the airport is. Obviously in real life you wouldn't fly this low over the terminal, but it's my sim, my rules. Now there was an option that I saw in the, I keep it at 1,000. There was an option in the control center that basically enables an ILS for runway 27. Unless this has changed, there is no ILS for runway 27. It's only ILS for the runway that we just took off from in that direction for runway 09. So I'm not 100% sure how they have implemented that. What I think is they might have just done a mirror of the 091 and extended it further down so you can actually use it for 27, but in real life there is no runway ILS for runway 27. Again, you can see where the lush green grass, this all belongs to Imaginesim. Everything beyond the lush green grass then belongs to Richer Simulations. And the ships that's in the sea that I had activated, I guess this will be one of them there. The cruise liner. I'm going to try not to embarrass myself when I land the plane. And forgive my pattern work. Now I think there might be a bit of clash because all in here I would normally have houses, so I might have to reorder my scenery. I do have some, but the most of it seems to be quite bare. Full flaps. Oh, that was an ugly looking pattern, but anyways. I guess when flying GA I probably need a honeycomb yoke because I find this so jerky and sensitive with general aviation. I could make it smooth, but then I would suffer when I'm flying the jets, which I fly a lot more than I do with general aviation. What I'm missing though is the windsock. There's supposed to be a windsock here and I don't see it. God, this thing is jerky, and I'm trying to not embarrass myself. And Internet Runway, thankfully, it's a that's the stall. Not too bad. Alright, so before we take off again, flaps are coming up, we're just gonna go over on the south ramp where the club is and have a look there and see if it's modeled like in real life or like in what I remember it as being. And then what we'll do is we'll change it tonight just to see how it is. Actually, there's no club. I thought there was a club. So right to the right here, so this will be the hangars, and to the right here, right where these trees are, there's usually there's a light airplane club in Barbados. This is where I would have started my flying, and right here is where you usually have the aircraft parked. So the actual layout of the parking area is spot on, but the club is missing. Here in this hangar, the latest company, or the last company that I know of that was actually working with it, was Executive Air. Before that, it was a company called Trans Island Air, which then moved to the Grenadines to St. Vincent, and they changed their name to Grenadine Airlines. So the club is actually missing. What I was seeing that I thought was the club is actually the Barbados Defense Force barracks on the opposite side. And down here would be the fire service. That would be where they would park. So let's go back over to the next to the main terminal, and we'll change it to nighttime and see how it looks. Let there be light. Welcome back. Now we have the aircraft in all its glory at nighttime. I have taken the liberty to turn on everything except for the max passengers, so you guys can see exactly how alive the airport can be. You can see the passing traffic. You've got the bird that you'll see dropping every now and then, and the airport sounds that I talked to you about earlier. There goes the bird. The airport sounds that I told you earlier is exactly what you're hearing right now. Just at the front of the aircraft, let's see if we can get in a little bit closer, are the auto gates that I was speaking about, which, like I said, no matter how far up the line I had come, it was still indicating like this. Now I might have misunderstood it, possibly. I can go over the documentation again to see. I don't think I have, because I assume it works similarly to other AutoGate systems, where as soon as you get to the point where you're supposed to stop, that line that is that you can see moving, that comes to a complete stop altogether. I have not seen that happen in this case. As I said, the ground to me looks amazing at night with the light on it. And the only downside that I actually can see from the traffic being on is that they're not aware of each other. I think Taxigate nailed it, where the traffic would all go around a predetermined area and they could see each other and the aircraft. And especially like in Mexico City, you would see that they would actually stop for the aircraft. I've also seen it at Munich. In this scenario, I can see trucks going through the buses, but it's not a deal breaker for me. One thing that I've noticed as well, as you can see, like it takes a little bit time for the light to actually come on in certain areas. I've seen this from the sky as well, but it isn't again a deal breaker for me. The scenery looks absolutely amazing at nighttime. It does at day, but it comes into its full glory at night. The dynamic lighting extends all the way to this area, and as you can see in the aircraft, I am affected by the dynamic lighting. It's shining on the surfaces differently, just as it would in real life, so that gets my seal of approval any time of the day. What we're going to do now is we're going to take off and we'll look back at the airport. We won't do a landing this time. We probably wouldn't. It depends on what happens, but my plan is basically to take off, pause the same, and have a look back and see how it's going. Just to recap so far, a couple things are different to real life. The asphalt is different, or the tarmac is different rather. It has this marbly look instead of a concrete look. The runway is made as asphalt, but again it has these squares from marble. And then the light airplane club on the south side is missing. They have trees there, but that's not there as it is in real life. So let's get started. I'm gonna do an auto start. And let's taxi down to runway 09. You can see with everything on that my performance is going to take a hit. It's not ridiculous, so it probably would be a lot more if I was using, say, the likes of FsLabs or even the PMDG 737. Not quite sure if my lights are on. There we go. Do I want to go down? Yeah, let's make it a short takeoff. So we do the interception here. I'm gonna take off with 20 degrees of flaps, and we'll try to do a short field takeoff. Or should I do a soft field? I do a short field. Okay, again, we are not on VATSIM, so we're not going to be holding up anyone when we stop on the runway like this. So this is what the view looks like from the runway. To me, it resembles what I remember of Barbados. It's very adequate lighting. I love how the light actually picks up the runway as well. So I guess we should get to it. Take off and bring a close to this review where I'll give you my honest opinion at the end. Okay, we're gonna do short takeoff, short fuel take. Full power. And as soon as the aircraft can lift, we will. And then stay in ground effect until we've picked up enough speed. So we're in ground effect. Oh god, I'm not getting any points for this 60 knots. Bring up some flaps. Hold it there. And perfect. That's flaps full up. And we are off. And we can pause it here. So far so good. The lights actually come all the way down to the last parking. I don't recall us having lights all the way down there, but again, it's been 6 years, almost 7 years since I've been to Barbados, so that might have changed. I had other lights for here, but I find that they look like big bulbs, so I actually disabled it, and I don't think I'll put them back on. The ground, you can see the contrast. It still looks acceptable for night, whereas before, all this right next to the aircraft would have been this red molten lava looking mush, and I couldn't stand it. So they have also nailed that, and let's continue our climb. Homeland runway heading to 09. Do our base turn. And we roll out and I head in the north. Here we go. Okay. Now here, after you've left the airport area, you see the different contrasts with the richer simulation scenery, which goes around which covers the entire island. You see his has kind of a reddish hue, and this will possibly because it was made to match back with the default scenery, which used to have that same kind of molten look. Now I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the richer blend now that we have the scenery from Imaginesim, but that is something that I am happy to overlook, because once I sort out the mesh, that probably is gonna have houses there, so I won't see the orange so much. But again, back to the Imaginesim scenery, even from the sky, with the lighting that they have, it does look quite impressive. I haven't seen it blacked out as yet, so I'm very happy with that. And I think that's all there is to do for this review. We'll continue to fly a little bit more, but I think I've seen enough to give my feelings on the aircraft itself. And because my landing earlier was that horrible, maybe I should try another one. Maybe not. I'll quit while I'm ahead. Let's pause it here. I have one last look. Yeah guys, I think that is pretty much all I want to see for the review. So, final points. It is a very good and detailed rendition of the airport. I am pleased with most things, and there are other things that I can actually overlook. Meaning the asphalt area which is in marble, because like it does look very stunning at night. The others with the actual runway, I'm not so sure about that. I'm just gonna do a short approach and go back in because this video has gotten quite long. All in all, they have done very well. I think, in my opinion, they have done the best rendition of my home country. And we are going to go down as fast as we can, career high. And if I had to actually give this a rating out of 10, I would, for execution of the actual airport, for the quality, I would give it a 10 out of 10, hands down, quite easily. For the resemblance of the actual airport in real life, I would have to give it an 8 of 10, for the main reason the movement area does not resemble what we see in Imaginesim. The runway does not resemble what we see as well, but obviously there are limitations with the sim. And even though that P3D are making strides, be a little bit late considering how Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is just on the horizon. Oh my god, this pattern is just even worse than the last one. I am very happy with this scenery. Would I recommend anyone to buy it? 100% yes. It is worth the, I think it was £22. It is worth the £22 in my opinion. It's one of those sceneries that will, if you didn't know about Barbados before, you would want to be flying in all the time. It is that good in my opinion. They have outdone themselves, and it does get my vote. Hope you guys did enjoy the review. If anybody comments on my flying, I am going to lose it. Not really. Feel free to critique me as much as you like. If you have any comments, regarding the review, regarding anything that I might have missed, feel free to put it in the comments below and we can have a discussion around it. This is my personal feeling. I don't represent Imaginesim in any form, shape or fashion. They have nothing to do with this video. I bought it just like any of you who will buy it, and this is my unbiased opinion as it relates to my home country. It's been a long time in coming for the Caribbean to get some love, and I'm happy that big developers like Imaginesim have taken the opportunity to do it, even if it's not on a big scale, especially with not knowing what P3D will have to offer with the coming of MFS 2020. There we go. So it is a very welcome addition to my add-ons, and you should see some videos this time in aircraft that I can fly properly without getting airsick, like the FsLabs or the PMDGs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that this early review will give you the information that you need to decide if you want to get it for yourself or if it's a miss. There's no right or wrong. It's pretty much what's best for you, and it was my pleasure in talking a little bit about my home country and showing what Imaginesim has brought to the sim world for us and the sim community. Take care guys, have a great evening, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.